Hey everybody, it's Shu here. I wanted to show you a new deck that I've been running in Magic Duels to some success. I'm calling it Value Bug. For those of you who aren't super familiar with Magic terminology, Bug is sort of the shorthand for black, blue, and green. Some of you might call it Sultai after the name that was given to it in Khans of Tarkir. That's fine. But we're calling this Value Bug. And so, without further delay, let's get into it and see what we got. You're going to recognize some of this from the last deck that I showed, the black, green, and white one. I feel like the blue changes make it a lot more powerful and give it a lot more game. So let's take a look at what we got. We're going to start with the lands. As always, we're going to have two of these tap lands. Remember that in Magic Duels, you're restricted by rarity, so anything that's rare you can only have two of, anything that's mythic you can only have one of, anything that's uncommon you can only have three of. So these tap lands, we're going to run two of each. And that's the max we can run. They come in untapped if you have one of their basic lands that corresponds to it. So if this makes black green, comes in untapped if you have a swamp or forest. Blue green, blue black. And then Evolving Wilds helps us set that up really easily by being able to dig out basics on command. So we're going to run 4 of that. And then we're running 2 islands, 5 swamps, and 6 forests. We're doing that because blue barely matters in terms of color intensity. We're only running 4 blue cards in here, and it's worth it. But it's very easy to set up between the 2 islands, the 4 tap lands, Evolving Wilds, and the Gate Creeper Vines that you're going to see soon. Very easy to set up, so we don't need a ton of islands in here. We need more forests because forests make up most of our early game, most of our green stuff that's going to be allowing us to draw cards, find land, fix mana, and so forth. And then slightly fewer swamps. So let's get into the actual meat of the deck now. Starting with Bone Splinters. We're only running 3 of it this time. So when you play it, you sack a creature, destroy a creature. Seems like you're 2 for 1ing yourself. But we're getting a little extra advantage in this because everything we play is going to be getting us more value. So at that point, you're trading even 2 for 2. But you're also gaining tempo because the thing that you trade is almost always going to be something small and insignificant compared to what you're going to be taking out. So it's a value neutral usually. Sometimes it's even value positive. And you're also making tempo gains off of it. It's also just a great way to kill a guy for very little mana. So yes, we're running 3. It's really handy with some of our early game stuff that we use to set ourselves up, but that doesn't really have a body that we'd want. And so let's get into those right now. Gate Creeper Vine. This thing is a prime card to sacrifice to Bone Splinters. It's also just a great thing to be playing in the early game. Blocks guys. It blocks Perilous Mirror like a champ, which is great because Perilous Mirror is still popular. Put it in, find a land, find that island if you need it, find more forests, find more swamps. Not only are you getting cards out of it, but you're putting down a blocker. It's going to buy you time. It's great fodder for Bone Splinters. If you really want, you can revive it later. You usually don't need to. I love Gate Creeper Vine. We're running 3. We would run 4, but we don't need that much early game presence. And yeah, it's kind of a dead, disappointing draw in the late game if you need something important. So we don't want to run all 4. The other one, Elvish Visionary. Another great target for Bone Splinters. Or another great sacrifice to Bone Splinters, rather. You put it in, you draw a card, then you're bone splintering. That's like the definition of 2 for 2 right there. And again, you're probably gaining tempo because you're almost certainly killing something more important than Elvish Visionary with your removal. Now let's go back. Jace, Vryn's Prodigy. You're probably not using Bone Splinters on this guy. I just didn't want to skip him. So he's drawing a card and discarding a card. That's awesome on its own. Just as a looter, that is a very powerful effect. But being able to become a Planeswalker on top of that is pretty amazing. I would run more of this guy if I could, but since he's mythic rare, we can only run 1. If you have more than 5, if you have 5 or more cards in your grave, you can flip him over. 1 you use his effect again. And that is pretty great because this deck will fill the grave super easy. It uses lots of spells. It sacrifices its own guys all the time. It uses Evolving Wilds, so there's tons of stuff that's going to be in the grave. It's super easy to flip Jace. He almost always flips. If he doesn't flip, it's because somebody killed him first, and that's fine. Because he's not vital to the deck. He brings enough value that he earns his place. When you flip him around, what do we got? His +1 is going to protect you by making your opponent's creatures weaker. It's important to note that you can use that even when they don't have creatures. It says up to 1 creature gets -2, -0. So if you use it and they don't have anything, you don't have to make your own guys weaker. You just say finish, and he just says, okay, I'll target nothing in particular and gain a loyalty. The -3 is really what makes this side of the card special, being able to recast spells. You're going to be able to use your removal more often and just get lots and lots and lots and lots of value. I have only got the emblem with this deck once. You almost never reach a spot where you've got Jace up to where you can hit that emblem and you haven't already won. But I did it once, and if you have it, you probably do win eventually. It gives you a lot of inevitability, but you're not really there for the ultimate ability. You're here for the +1 and the -3, and for the loot that he brings on his body. And you'll notice the mana cost, really simple. It's just a single blue. That's one of the reasons we can get away with running so few islands, and that's important to this deck. Evolutionary Leap. I talked about Evolutionary Leap in the previous video. Evolutionary Leap is just straight busted. Being able to sacrifice a creature and then just find another creature from your deck means that you are like almost immune to removal. You lose a little bit of tempo when they kill a guy because you don't have anything on board to replace it yet, but you're getting cards back. So if they spend a card to kill your card and instead use Evolutionary Leap to trade it out for another, okay, so they just got 1 for 1, and then you just drew another card. That's amazing. You just went up on the value. You turned all their removal into 2 for 1s, and that is one of the tools that you're going to use to grind them out and to just constantly gain value until eventually they have nothing and you have everything and they can't possibly win. Evolutionary Leap is so powerful. I can't possibly imagine a green deck in Magic Duels that wouldn't want this card. Reeve Soul. We ran 4 in a previous deck. This time we're running 3 because I feel like we have a little bit of a stronger early and mid game. It's still vital to the deck. Destroying early guys is really important because we're a late game deck. We need to survive until we're powerful enough to actually win. So we're running 3. Liliana. Liliana's amazing. Now, she's the only source of life gain in this deck, but you're normally not going to be hitting with lifelink for her. Every now and then you do, and it's great. Most of the time, when you drop her, you need to flip her right away because people will gun for her because she is super powerful. Not only, alright, if you flip her, you automatically get a 2/2 zombie just from the transformation, and that's awesome because that gives you something to protect her with. But her +2 and -X abilities work together so well. +2, each player discards a card. -X, return a non-legendary creature from the grave with mana cost X to the battlefield. Amazing. So these two abilities really work in concert. You +2 and both players discard a card, but the very next turn you can -X to return the guy that you discarded into play. So now if you're not even spending mana on the guy, and you're getting the guy that you had just discarded, so they're down a card, you get your guy back. The guy that you're bringing back probably has value stapled to it because that's what this deck does. And it's just so powerful what you can do with that. You can choke people's hands out, you can pull back things from your grave and use it as a toolbox to bring back whatever effect you need at the moment. Liliana is absolutely amazing. And if you actually do get her ultimate off, you basically just win. I've seen one game ever where anyone's ever got the emblem with Liliana and didn't win. You nearly always win. When something dies, it comes into your control. That makes every single combat interaction in your favor. If you block and your guy dies, it just comes back. If they block and their guy dies, you get it. If you use removal and kill a guy, you get it. If you start having Fleshback Marauder and just sacrifice it every single turn it's going to come back and it's going to force them to sacrifice something and you're going to get that. So now every single turn you're stealing a guy. The emblem is amazing. You don't normally need it. You usually won't have to use it. But if you do, you win. Fleshback Marauder. This guy is like a linchpin of the deck. We're running 3 because at uncommon, 3 is the max we can run. When he comes in, each player sacrifices a creature. You have so many more tools at your disposal to take advantage of this than they do. By sacrificing this guy, you're putting him back in the grave, which means you can get him again. You're normally being able to choose when you play it means that you can choose when it's advantageous to play it, and you don't just like drop it whenever it sucks. and you have a bunch of tools to get extra value off of it. We've already seen Evolutionary Leap. Evolutionary Leap is a great one. So you put in Fleshbag Marauder, and his little trigger goes on the stack, and then before it resolves, before you have to sacrifice him, you sacrifice him to Evolutionary Leap instead. If Fleshbag was your only guy on the board, now you've got nothing left to sacrifice, so you don't have to, and you just traded your Fleshbag for another card. So you just 2-for-1'd him right there. If you add an Elemental Bond to draw a card when he came in, you just 3-for-1'd him. It's disgusting. You get so much value out of this all the time. Nissa Vastwood Seer. You know, honestly, I just play her to dig up the land, and if she becomes a Planeswalker, that's great. It's not that I would not necessarily play like a Civic Wayfinder, which is what this card would be if it weren't a Planeswalker. It's more that being able to play her as a Civic Wayfinder in the mid-game is a great thing, and then having her turned into a Planeswalker later is also great. But I don't want to give up the mid-game. I don't want to lose tempo. I don't want to miss my land drops. So it's absolutely worth playing Nissa to just get the land in the mid-game if that's what you have to do, if you don't have other productive plays. So I don't mind doing that, you know. Put her down on turn 3, get a forest so that on turn 4 you can use all that mana, even better. But when she flips, she gets really powerful. Her plus is going to give you card advantage every single turn because you're either going to draw a card or you're going to get a land out of the way so that you're one turn closer to drawing a card. Add her -2, putting in a vanilla 4/4 legendary creature. That's great. A vanilla 4/4 is not super powerful, but it's a body. It protects Nissa. It gives you something to work with. It gives you something to close out a game. It triggers Elemental Bond. You can sacrifice it to Evolutionary Leap to go and find more guys. It's just a really useful ability. People often overlook it. You shouldn't. Her ultimate, every now and then you get to use it, and if you do, you probably just win, because now you've just got 36 more damage that's going to come at somebody in addition to whatever else you already had on board. It's pretty great. Reclamation Sage. We're only running one of it. Sometimes I wish we could run more because this deck is a little soft to the kinds of things that Reclamation Sage beats up, artifacts and enchantments. But we're only running one because when Reclamation Sage is bad, Reclamation Sage is really bad. 3 mana for a 2/1 is not the kind of value we want on a body at all. It doesn't trigger Elemental Bond. So we don't want to just draw this all the time when it doesn't have useful things. To make up for only running one, we're also running Woodland Bellower, which can dig it out, so it's sort of like we're running 2. And Evolutionary Leap also helps us dig to it if we need something in an emergency. So we have to suck it up and only run one, and that's what we're going to do. Bounding Krasis, the other blue card in this deck. Bounding Krasis is amazing. Bounding Krasis is really what made blue work in this deck. I wanted to try it out because just the stats you get on this card are so outsized and so absurdly good for the cost. 3 mana 3/3, that's already fine. And then you put Flash on it. Flash is one of the most powerful creature abilities in the game. And then even after that, you get its Enters the Battlefield ability to tap or untap a creature. There's so much stuff you can do with this guy. So you can put him in, you can flash him in after somebody attacks and block a weaker creature and kill it. You can flash him in, untap something else to block, and then you can block with both or just the one. For example, say I've attacked with a 6/6, and they're going to attack me with a 5/5 now. And I could flash in Bounding Krasis and just block with that, but then I lose my Krasis. That sucks. So what if I flash him in, use his ability to untap the 6/6, use the 6/6 to block the 5/5. Now they've got nothing, and I've got another creature. Pretty great deal. You can flash him in at the end of your opponent's turn to tap down a blocker, and so now not only do they have one less blocker than they planned for, they have 3 more damage than they planned for. This guy gives you so much versatility, and the fact that he's a 3/3 means he's also going to trigger Elemental Bond. The fact that he's a green creature that costs 3 or less means we can pull him off Woodland Bellower. He's just really, really powerful. There's a lot of stuff you can do with this card, so we're running all 3, and I really think that this is what makes the blue edition better than the white edition that I'd been running before. Elemental Bond. As much as I've talked it up, you'd think I'd be running 3, but we're only running 2 because extra ones really start to become a problem. This deck goes for the long game. You don't want to draw yourself out. You're trying to spend tons of mana, and mana is sort of your limiting factor here. You're going to be drawing so many cards that you're going to be limited by how many you can play according to your mana, not according to how many cards you draw. So drawing more cards than you can use is actively harmful. You start losing time because you start drawing yourself out. You don't want that. So we're only running 2. And every now and then you have to blow up your own elemental bond just to like not draw yourself out. It doesn't usually happen, but it can. And this card is a big part of what makes the deck work, because this turns your Fleshbag Marauders into 2-for-1s. It gets you more value to draw cards with your Bounding Krasis, and it just makes so many of the interactions that you do profitable. It takes a little bit of setup time, but that's fine. We're a late game deck. We can afford to spend removal in the early game to kill guys. We can board wipe if we've lost tempo when we played Elemental Bond on turn 3. This card is really powerful, and it's really powerful in conjunction with Evolutionary Leap also, because we can put in a guy that draws us a card off Elemental Bond. We can sacrifice a creature to Evolutionary Leap to get another guy. We can put him in, and it'll draw us another card off Elemental Bond. The two sort of work in concert to draw us more cards, and where Evolutionary Leap will only get us creatures, Elemental Bond will draw whatever, which makes it handy if you're really looking for a spell, like if you're really looking for Languish or something. So, very powerful. We're running 2, and it's a great, great card. Gravedigger. Again, we're only running 2. It's another time where I'd like to run 3, but we have ways to recycle him. Being able to bring back anything from the grave means that you are just going to win the late game, because you are going to have so much stuff in the grave that it becomes a toolbox for you. If they have something out there that needs killed, you use Gravedigger and you bring back Fleshbag Marauder and make them sacrifice it. If they have an enchantment, you play Gravedigger, bring back Reclamation Sage, and kill it. If you need something to start closing out the game, Gravedigger, pull back one of those Planeswalkers that they killed in the early game, flip it around, and start winning. And then you can start recycling Gravedigger itself with Cruel Revival. So there's just so much you can do. Gravedigger is one of the cards that ensures that this deck has the ability to win in the late game. Languish. We can only run 2. We're running both. Languish is awesome. A board wipe is really great. It eats a lot of our own stuff too, but in most situations we're going to be playing it only when it's beneficial. And even when we do end up wiping up our own stuff, we can go back to the grave and get our things back where other decks often can't. And we're going to be able to just draw out more value out of everything that we do anyway, so that even if we blow up our own guys with a big Languish, everything thereafter, when we've sort of reset the game state, we're going to start pulling ahead with every single thing that we do. So Languish is worth it. Guiltleaf Winnower. Only running 1. It's really great when it's great. It's a little disappointing when it's not. Being able to come in and kill something is amazing. Being able to kill something and draw off Elemental Bond is really, really powerful. Often that just wins you a game right then and there. But I'm only running 1 because it only kills things whose power and toughness aren't equal. There's a lot of threats in this game that are symmetrical, and he can't hit those, and that's disappointing. And it can only hit non-elves. That's less of an issue than it used to be, because elf decks have sort of fallen out of the meta, but it's still an issue. Only running 1 of this guy, but when he's great, he is really great. Cruel Revival, sort of the other linchpin of this deck. Kill a guy and return a zombie to your hand. You're already, in most circumstances, getting a 2-for-1. And then you're probably getting more value because the zombies you're returning are Gravedigger and Fleshbag Marauder. So Cruel Revival is disgusting. Cruel Revival is one of those things that says, okay, now I run the game. Now I'm going to start outvaluing you. And I'm going to basically get the effect of drawing more cards than you every single turn until I strangle out everything that you can do and win. Woodland Bellower. We can only run 1, so we're running 1. It's already a big body, which is very respectable. It's also one of the only bodies that survives Languish, which every now and then matters. And being able to dig up things from the deck, non-legendary green guys with converted mana cost 3 or less, that's powerful. So what are we getting out of that? We can get Gatecreeper Vine, that's not usually one. Elvish Visionary is a popular thing. Put in Woodland Bellower, put in Elvish Visionary, draw a card off Visionary, probably drawing a card off Woodland Bellower, triggering Elemental Bond. So for 6 mana, you just got 2 bodies and 2 cards. That's amazing. You can put them in and you can dig up Reclamation Sage, which effectively makes it like we're running 2 Sages without having to deal with it being a dead card twice. It can dig up Bounding Krasis, which is another really, really great example, because now you're getting 6/5, and a 3/3 for 6 mana. That's so much power and toughness on the board for that cost. And you're tapping something down. That's gross. That's incredibly powerful. And this guy is amazing. I struggle to imagine a day where you wouldn't want to run this in any kind of slow or mid-range deck that runs green in duels. Gaia's Revenge. We're only running 1 because 1 is all you need, and you don't want to draw a 7-drop in your early hand. But when it wins, it wins. We didn't run this in a previous deck that was black, green, and white because we were struggling to find room. But I made it a point to make room for this guy this time. Gaia's Revenge is just so good. The fact that it can't be countered is not usually a big deal, but when it is, it's incredibly powerful. Being able to just, bam, haste somebody for 8 is a really big deal. And the fact that it's hard to target is a really big deal. It can't be the target of non-green spells or abilities from non-green sources. That's incredible. That makes it super hard to get rid of. And it means that when it lands, you probably win now or very, very soon. One thing I should mention about Gaia's Revenge, it's one of the cards that is popular in a number of decks, and it also makes our Bounding Crisis better, because this is one of those green abilities that actually can affect Gaia's Revenge. Bounding Crisis can not only flash in and tap an opponent's Gaia's Revenge, which is great, because it effectively shuts them down for a turn and gives some more tempo, but you could also flash in Bounding Crisis to untap Gaia's Revenge if you just swung in with yours, and now you want it to block on the next turn. So this has a lot of synergy with Revenge, both with yours and in shutting down the opponents. So Bounding Crisis gets some extra points that way. And yeah, that ought to do it. You'll notice that basically everything we do has value stapled to it, and that lets us trade things freely and just slowly build up value, grind people out, and crush them in the end, because at the end of the game, we're going to have a massive board, and they're going to have nothing, and that's how you win with Value Bug. Let's see how it works in-game. Okay, so let's check out a versus battle against an opponent here. We're going to get in there. Let's see if we can get into a game. Alright, here we go. Based on the avatar, I'm going to assume this person's probably playing Thopters, also just because of the popularity of Thopters on the ladder right now. Let's see if that bears out. Like I said in a previous video, a lot of times people will pick a profile that sort of throws you off, but generally when people take something that looks like a damn Artificer, they're probably playing Thopters. Thopters is not a great matchup for this deck or for the previous one, but I think we can pull it out. So let's see what we can do here. They're playing first. That's not great for us, but alright, so I sort of like this hand. We've got some lands here. We've got some early game. We've got a Marauder. Marauder's less good against Thopters if that's what they're playing, but it's still a popular card. It's a good card. So at this point I'm thinking of leading with Hinterland Harbor, and then I can just put down another land afterward. You know, this was a mistake here. I really should have put down the Forest, because the Forest would let me play either of those dual lands. I guess I felt in my mind I didn't want to show my hand. I didn't want to show that I was playing a green deck. I don't think that that would have really given him any actionable information, but what are you going to do? It's a misplay. We'll deal with it. So we're going to put this in, see if we can draw a card. And we're seeing blue and red here. That guy is almost certainly on Thopters. So we need to find things that'll deal with it. Languish would be great. Otherwise, just lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of pinpoint removal, which is not a fun way to fight Thopters because they just crap value everywhere. It really shuts down the value of Fleshbag Marauder, but what are you going to do? So at this point, I really want him I really want to get something off the board so that Fleshbag gets better. So I'm attacking in hopes that he'll block. He almost certainly won't. He has more value to gain by not blocking and just attacking me later. But I'm going to hope for it. And if it doesn't happen, then I'll just put down a Gate Creeper Vine, get another land, and start building to the point that we can actually win this game here. Get into another swamp. We tend to get swamps off this because Nissa can grab forests, and we want to make sure that she always has something to get. And we won't need islands because we've already got one green source here. We tend not to go for more forests unless we start getting Evolutionary Leap and we find that we need lots of green sources. So we're going to throw away Gate Creeper Vine. It bought us a little bit of tempo, and that's fine. It's slowing them down. They're already at 4 mana, and they've only done 1 damage to us, and that's nice. Alright. And I'd like to do more damage here. At this point, he has to know something's up. The fact that I am just still attacking with Elvish Visionary means that either I'm an idiot or I've got something up my sleeve. He's drawing cards, that kind of sucks. I can't do anything about that. But even if I had tried to make him sacrifice the Thopter, he could have responded with that at an instant speed and drawn cards. So what are you going to do? But he has to know something's up. I'm planning on flashing in Bounding Krasis and using the Visionary to block the other guy. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, he's pausing here. He has to know something's up. I've got 4 mana. I haven't played anything. I'm running colors that would show Bounding Krasis. Even though it's not super popular in the meta, he's probably aware of what's going on here. This gives me more reason to want to trade out Elvish Visionary rather than use Bounding Krasis to block. Because I want a guy with 3 power out there to live. So we're going to untap Elvish Visionary, and we're going to use Visionary to block if we can. And that's a pretty sweet effect there. Okay, and so he's going to respond by spending a Twin Bolt on it and the face. And that's fine. We've already got a block out of this, and we made him spend Twin Bolts. Like, I'm pretty happy about that. If he had played it faster, if he had played it before I declared my blocks, he could have forced me to block with Bounding Krasis instead. But I guess doing that would mean that I would block with Bounding Krasis and kill his guy. So maybe it's better that he waited. I guess it is. But now we've got Elemental Bond, we've got Gate Creeper Vine. Now putting out the Fleshbag Marauders is a little less bad. Yes, he's still got a bunch of crap that's out there that makes sacrifice effects not that good. He can just, like, sacrifice little cheap guys all the time. But with Elemental Bond, we can start drawing cards off it. And I know for a fact that blue and red have nothing they can do about Elemental Bond unless he's running Displacement Wave. And Thopter decks tend not to run Displacement Wave because it would eat up all their tokens. So, feeling pretty good about this. We've got a card draw engine in place that he can't really do anything about. Let's see what he's going to do. As far as next turn, it depends on what I draw. I could put down 2 Fleshbags, depending on what happens here. At this point, I definitely want to use the Gate Creeper to block Perilous Mirror, because it won't trigger it, and then I can block here to kill that guy. We'll see what happens. Okay, so he's probably got Twin Bolt. Yep, here it comes. I'm surprised that he's not using it on the Gate Creeper Vine, so that Perilous Mirror kills the Vine. He's just going for that extra 1 damage to face. I think that's a mistake, because this guy can keep blocking Perilous Mirror into perpetuity here. I've said before that I would play Nissa just for the land. In this situation, I don't need to because I've got so much land. So I'd rather hold on to her for another turn so that I can flip her when she lands. And at this point, yeah, I'm sacrificing Gate Creeper Vine because I want him to point the 2 at this guy. But he's not, and I'm surprised. He's still going for the face. So yeah, and I don't want to spend another land and another Fleshbag Marauder just to kill that Thopter when he doesn't even have Thopter Spy Network yet. So instead I'm putting out the fetch land, pulling that in tapped, and using my 2 remaining mana to get in Evolutionary Leap. Because that'll start making his removal much worse. That'll start letting us grind him out in value. But there's the Thopter Spy Network. Bummed that it finally lands, because that's going to let him draw a lot. It's important now that we start removing artifacts as often as we can. Things right now are not terrible, but having an online Thopter Spy Network makes life a lot harder. He can recover from us a lot more. He's going to draw a lot more cards. He's going to get a lot more value out of things. So at this point, I want to start putting damage on the board. And I want to start chipping away at his ability to draw cards and make more tokens. So we're going to put in Fleshbag here. Honestly, I should probably have put in Nissa first, got the forest so that I have Evolutionary Leap ready. Okay. So now he doesn't have any artifacts. He's not going to get a free token next turn, and that's good for us. We want to make Thopter Spy Network as dead as we can. Nissa comes back. And I'm trying to draw cards because I want to get to Reclamation Sage or a way to get it. Cruel Revival, I guess, is one option. But I want Reclamation Sage. I want to blow up that Thopter Spy Network. The other option was to make a token that would trigger Elemental Bond and put more pressure on him. But that would also leave Nissa open. He's already spent Twin Bolts, and I'm worried about a third. So I don't want to drop Nissa down to just one loyalty where she can be killed that quickly. And we definitely want to kill the Thopter Engineer, because the Thopter Engineer is going to give all his artifacts haste, which means every time he makes a new Thopter off that guy, it's going to be able to attack at instant speed. So we need to kill that guy ASAP. Ugh. And at this point, it makes the decision more clear, because we're not going to get rid of both artifacts. I suppose we could, but we're not really going to. I'm hoping to put down Liliana and maybe flip her around and bring back Fleshbag again, and then I can pull it back with a Gravedigger later. But I can only flip her around if I can trade something. I'm going to swing here because I feel like he would trade Rune Servitor for it, and if not, well, we get damage and we just keep racing. And he lets it go through. And I'm actually surprised by that. I'm a little weirded out trying to figure out what I can do. So I'm going to go and plus Nissa first to see what my options are. Okay, so she's not giving me 6 mana, so I can't really have Cruel Revival and Evolutionary Leap up, and that sucks. So I'm considering my options at this point. Probably gonna have to take out Thopter Engineer. That guy represents too much pain. It'll give the guy another token next turn because he's gonna have artifacts in play, and that sucks. But getting rid of Thopter Engineer makes sure that at least he works at a manageable pace. Now we don't have Evolutionary Leap up, so that sucks. If he kills Liliana, we can't do anything about it right now. But we'll probably bring her back if it comes to it. We've got that Gravedigger waiting. And another Cruel Revival to reuse it if we have to. Okay, so he's going to use Reclusive Artificer to blow up Liliana. That sucks. Now we don't even have blocks, and he's going to attack for 2 more damage than we anticipated. And at this point, we're a little worried. Because he's going to hit us for 5. Probably. He hasn't shown any interest in going after Nissa. He could just take out Nissa here. But then he wouldn't get the draw off Thopter Spy Network. So I think he's going to go all face. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about going for Nissa. Huh. Okay, so he's not going to kill Nissa. He's just going to reduce her to 1. Maybe he's got the Twin Bolt for it. And then he's going to draw on with the Thopter hitting me in the face. That gives me more time to work with life. Okay, so yeah, he's going to Twin Bolt Nissa, and that sucks for me. Like, at this point, the game looks really like it's his. But let's play it out. I just need to keep clearing things. I don't even really know what the right answer is here. I just want to keep drawing cards. I want to keep building up advantage. Hope to God I can find, like, a Languish here. So that didn't do it. Maybe this will do it. Okay, well, it's a Reeve Soul. That helps. What's he going to sack? Probably a Thopter? No, he's getting rid of Rune Servitor. I guess he wants another card to put it away. Oh, and that gives us the Languish. Alright, yeah, this guy just fucked up and gave us the game. Probably. I mean, he's still got Thopter Spy Network, and we still don't have an answer to it. But now we've got all this land, we've got our engine in place, and we're only 2 life behind. I think we can win this now. If we had lost another turn because of Rune Servitor, life might be really bad right now. This is still pretty bad. He's got another Engineer, so he's going to be able to hit us again. Oh god, he's going to hit us for 4 now and draw a card. He's just going to keep getting value out of that Thopter Spy Network, which is why I wanted to kill it so long ago. So now we're down to 6. That's pretty bad. But it's not insurmountable again. We've got a lot of removal here. We've got Cruel Revival. We've got Reeve Soul. We could probably get back the Flesh Bag at some point. 4, 5. Okay, so I'd have 10 land available. So, trying to figure out the most efficient thing I can do here. Yeah, if I do that, plus Flesh Bag, plus Reeve Soul, I can kill all 3 guys with 10 mana. That's pretty good. Alright, and then we'll draw a card. So see, that was pretty good right there. We just shut him back down. He spent a bunch of cards to do that, and he only drew 1. And now he has to spend this to try and dig up an answer. We still might be able to pull this off here. And Jace, if we flip him around, that'll be pretty handy. Because we've already spent Cruel Revivals. We want to get those back. Gravedigger will let us bring back all sorts of stuff. Let's see our options. Yeah, I don't want to spend Gravedigger just yet because we have so many different tools and I don't know what we need yet. So I'm probably going to hang on to that for a little bit unless I decide that I need something right now. Okay, that's got to be answered though. So we're probably going to Gravedigger for a Flesh Bag. Well, Bone Splinters gives us another option, so let's do this instead. Let's see what Visionary draws us. Okay. I shouldn't have played the land there, because if I wanted to Gravedigg back Nissa, now I can't. At least I can't flip her right now. So that was probably a mistake. But yeah, see, like now they've only got 2 cards in hand, and we've got all this stuff going. We've got 3 in hand. We've got potential more on board. Like, we're clawing this back. I think we can win this. I would play Gravedigger, but I want to leave Evolutionary Leap open because I really, really want to trade out some guys for Reclamation Sage if I can get to it. Because Thopter Spy Network is just a bastard. We have to get rid of it at some point. Okay, well, we can flip Jace unless he has removal ready when the trigger goes off. Let's see what we can get. At this point, I definitely want to discard an island because I don't need... I mean, I've already got 3 blue sources, and I've already got Jace out. Oh, yeah, there's another island. Come on, that's an easy discard. So I'm glad we didn't draw that. Flip him over. At this point, yeah, we really got to get rid of that artifact. We don't want him to... All right, well, he thinks the game's over now. That's pretty good. We still have to beat the AI now. We're going to put this out to get rid of his artifacts so he doesn't get another token off of Thopter Spy Network. I'm going to sacrifice Gate Creeper because we really, really want to put some damage on, so we want a body on the ground right now. Looking to see if there's any spells I want to reuse with Jace. Right now there's not, so just going to plus him and finish because there's nothing that I want to make weaker. Put that out. See what I can draw. Again, I want to save that other Gravedigger because I don't know what else I want to get yet. So I'm going to hold on to that, put down Visionary, and leave green mana open so that I can use Evolutionary Leap when I gotta. So now we just have to beat the AI. But the AI is still playing a Thopter deck. Thopters can still be pretty explosive, and we're still at a pretty low amount of life. And we don't have any instant speed removal right now. Okay, so he doesn't seem to have much of anything right now. At this point, I'm thinking that I want to get back Liliana because I want to choke out his options. I've got a bunch of stuff in hand that I don't really need. So the discard would probably not hurt me much. And I want to start putting this game away. Okay, so he's going to spend some removal here. This is great because that lets us put Fleshbag back in the grave, and it lets us find another card. Now you see the value of Evolutionary Leap. His card does nothing. We just traded out our guy for something else, which will in turn trigger Elemental Bond again. Pretty powerful. So yeah, I'm thinking Liliana here. He's only got 2 cards in hand. I want to choke out what's left. And it works really well with Evolutionary Leap because now we have a sacrifice outlet that we can use to eat our own creatures and flip Liliana on demand. So she triggers, we get the zombie out of it. What do we get from the leap? Okay, Visionary, not bad. I'm not sure if I want to play Visionary or save Krasis yet. I'm going to make him discard, see what he drops. Drop the other island because we got Jace out. We got enough to play Krasis. Ooh, that's good. Making him lose that means he's not going to be drawing more cards. And look at the deck size right now. He's got 31 cards in his deck, and I just drew down to 18. I've seen so much more of my deck. I've been building up so much value, and now I have just this really grim situation here. Like, none of this board is very big and threatening, but there's a lot of guys, and the Planeswalkers are just going to keep making value all over the place. So I feel like now, you know, where it looked like we were probably going to lose, now we have a really strong chance of winning, and I'm excited about that. Whirler Rogue is a bit of a pain, but I don't think it's the worst. Okay, and then Artificer to blow up what? Okay, well, we'll blank that effect with Evolutionary Leap. Hitting the token does mean we can't recur it. Oh, but that's a mistake. Putting in Woodland Bellower means we can go and finally dig up that Reclamation Stage. And yeah, we've got so much here we can work with. Wow, we've seen so much of the deck, we only had 2 options left. That's amazing. So we do want to put the game away pretty quickly now. We don't want to draw ourselves out. That was an interesting decision. Whirler Rogue versus the 2/3. The 2/3 is harder to attack into. Whirler Rogue can punish us more if things go bad because it can make something unblockable. But I don't think from his empty hand he's going to be able to punish us that hard. AI goes and inexplicably makes its own guy unblockable. I don't know why. Sometimes it just does that. I mean, we're going to win this situation anyway. But, yeah. And so it just killed off one of our Gravediggers, which is great. We can go and recur it if we want. But I'm thinking I want to recur Fleshbag Marauder more likely. Or Reclamation Sage. I might just sacrifice Reclamation Sage to Evolutionary Leap. Yeah. So with Cruel Revival and Liliana together, we'll be able to clear the board again. Make sure they don't have any tools to work with. Leave him with an empty board to answer all this power. Yeah, Fleshbag Marauder. Clear out what they got. We're already down to 13 cards. We are so many cards ahead of this guy, and that's why we're winning. We've seen so much more of the deck because this deck is built to do that. And he draws a land, which means we just win. Seems pretty good. So yeah, now you can see the power of the deck. This, like, Thopters is not a great matchup for these like slow value grindy kind of decks. It's not a great matchup against decks that rely on Fleshbag Marauder. But we have so many tools at our disposal and so many ways we can draw cards that we can still come away with a win. So yeah, not bad. GG. Thanks for watching, everyone.